So welcome, everybody. It's been a few weeks since we've had one of these, and the summer seems to have been and gone, and now everyone's back into work mode. We're back into Q4, and so we're back with the MarTech Club today. And today we're going to talk about marketing failures, because let's face it, when marketing fails, it is often very forward-facing. Us as consumers, those that work within big organizations, we have experienced this from both sides. But what I wanted to do today is actually talk you through different marketing failures that we will have all interacted with or seen, and look at how we could have avoided that if we'd have thrown a little bit of MarTech into the mix. Because MarTech is our superpower as marketers, and utilizing technology and data in a way that allows us to understand, predict, and be the best we can as brands and organizations for our consumers and clients. That's where we want to be, right? So who am I? Those that haven't been here before, I am a marketing nerd who likes to understand data and MarTech. I am an experienced digital agency owner, and I'm now based in Gothenburg. I was originally from the UK. I am a course tutor at Oxford College of Marketing for all things MarTech and AI in marketing. And I am AI certified and certified within many areas of marketing. So any question about MarTech, marketing technology, data, automation, all that kind of good stuff that we can do within this sector is not a silly question here. As with all of my sessions, please talk to me in the chat so I can make sure that we answer any questions as we go through. And I will ask questions, so don't be afraid to talk back to me. Okay, so what are we going to go through today? So today we are going to be looking at 3 different case studies of failures within marketing. And within that, we're going to discuss the necessity of MarTech within modern marketing and modern digital strategy. We're going to look at the impact of neglecting these wonderful MarTech processes that we have at our availability and our fingertips now within the marketing world. We're going to talk about briefly the future of MarTech in marketing, and then of course there'll be a Q&A that you can kind of ask me any questions, and I'll get those answered for you. If I don't know the answer, I will make sure that I get the answer answered for you and send it over in the notes after this session. So, my question to you today is, can MarTech actually save the day? So in today's fast-paced marketing environment, where trends shift rapidly, the risk of stumbling is higher than ever. Organizations, brands, new products, new ideas, new markets, we're always working 1,000 steps ahead. But within that kind of fast-paced environment that we have to be able to work within and utilize, there is the opportunity to oversee, misstep, and make mistakes. But MarTech, which we all know is short for marketing technology, has evolved significantly, becoming now an essential tool for us as modern marketers to try and avoid those kind of pitfalls, right? It is no longer a collection of basic tools. It provides advanced capabilities, such as things like data analytics, AI-powered insights, real-time optimization, all that really juicy, good stuff that we can have access to now. And these advancements enable us to navigate those complexities of this truly ever-changing marketing landscape with greater precision, more sleep at night, and higher effectiveness. So we can start to try and avoid these potential pitfalls by delivering targeted, personalized campaigns and things that truly resonate with our audiences. We can then adjust quickly to changes in expectation, changes in technology, changes in consumer behavior, turning potential future failure actually into success. So I do think that MarTech can save the day. I am a little biased. I am a nerd at heart, and this is where I sit and I support my own clients. But MarTech is now a critical component that we can almost lean on to ensure that we are as informed as possible, as prepared as possible, and also able to jump on those kind of opportunities that we see within the data that we collect and analyze. So 3 major areas that MarTech can support our kind of organizations as a whole starts with data-driven decision making. Now, that may sound like a bunch of jargon, a load of buzzwords all rammed together into a kind of sentence, and you'll hear it a lot within MarTech, but we now have access to an unprecedented depth and breadth of data about our customers. I know some of the people that visit my clients' websites better than I do some of the friends that I went to school with maybe 10 years ago. And modern MarTech tools not only track basic metrics, but also provide detailed insights into those individuals' behavior, preferences, engagement patterns across multiple channels. So that allows us as marketers to be able to create content that resonates on the right channel, delivered at the right time, and we can iterate quickly. If your audience suddenly decides that they're not into that anymore, you can adapt your messaging, your resonation, and your tone to all of a sudden be relevant again. And the data that we collect within marketing includes real-time data, which influences their purchasing decisions, and even predictive analytics that we can then use to anticipate future behavior. How often have you wished to have a kind of Mystic Meg kind of look into the future and understand what you need to do next to stay relevant, to get a good ROI on your marketing, and to make your customers feel validated by your brand, product, or service? And by harnessing this comprehensive data, we as marketers can make highly informed decisions that are closely aligned with their audience's needs, desires, significantly reducing the risk of launching campaigns that are destined to fail, to flop, to not deliver. So this enhanced data accessibility allows for more precise targeting, more effective personalization, and ultimately more successful marketing outcomes. So that's the first big impact that MarTech can have, personalization at scale. So now we can actually create and deliver highly personalized content, offers, and messaging across a wide range of channels seamlessly. How wonderful is it when you feel seen, heard, and understood by your ideal brand? You get those recommendations, you feel understood, it's seamless to purchase because all of a sudden you're getting services, products, information in a way that is tailored to you with you in mind. And from a brand or organization's point of view, this is a dream. We are servicing and supporting our audiences in a beautiful way, but we can't do that without data, and we can't do it at scale without marketing technology. And these tools use sophisticated algorithms and AI to analyze customer data, segment audiences, and automate the creation of tailored experiences that feel unique to each individual. What once required manual effort and was limited in scope can now be done at scale, ensuring that every touch point is relevant and engaging. And this has allowed brands to cut through the noise and connect with customers on a much deeper level, driving higher engagement, loyalty, and conversion rates. I am a convert in this area. And then we have things like real-time analytics and optimization. So MarTech platforms have revolutionized the way organizations monitor and manage their marketing efforts by offering real-time tracking and analytics. This capability allows us as marketers to truly understand how our campaigns are performing. No longer do we assume, no longer do we wait till the end, no longer do we put more and more money into ads and outreach. We can iterate and adapt as we go. And understanding these immediate insights, we can see what's working and what is not and adapt accordingly. With this instant feedback loop, organizations can actually quickly adjust and optimize their strategies, making data-driven decisions that enhance campaign effectiveness by catching and addressing potential issues early. No longer do we have to download that data, analyze it, then make a decision, but it's 3 weeks out of date, but we're going to try anyway. We can keep iterating, adapting, becoming more and more relevant, more and more useful. And this agility not only improves the performance of individual campaigns, but also supports the organization's overall growth by enabling a more responsive and adaptive marketing approach. We all want those better results, right? So those are my 3 ways that I believe MarTech can begin to save the day in a lot of organizations if they aren't already kind of utilizing the glorious technology that is out there and that needs to be utilized, right? So now we're going to work through 3 different failures, and we're going to look at what the failure was, the impact on the brand, and how MarTech could have come in and saved the day. Because when we actually look through these, you can see that there was a definite lack of certain things that caused the outcome. And MarTech does offer a solution for them to have potentially not had that problem at all. So the first failure that we're going to look at today is Pepsi's 2017 Kendall Jenner ad campaign failure. Now, the background and the overview of this failure is that in 2017, Pepsi launched a highly controversial ad campaign featuring Kendall Jenner. The ad depicted Jenner leaving a photo shoot to join a protest, ultimately handing a can of Pepsi to a police officer as a gesture of peace. The ad quickly faced intense backlash, and I mean intense backlash, with many accusing Pepsi of trivializing social justice movements, particularly the Black Lives Matter movement at the time. The campaign was widely condemned as tone deaf, and Pepsi pulled the ad within 24 hours of its release. Now, let's have a look at the impact that that had on the brand. So, the fallout here was significant. It was a public relations disaster. Pepsi was accused of being out of touch with social issues, leading to widespread criticism on social media, mainstream news, and from public figures. There was huge brand reputation damage. The controversy damaged Pepsi's brand's whole reputation, particularly among younger customers or who are more highly attuned to potential social justice issues. There was a huge financial loss. While the exact financial impact is difficult to quantify, the swift withdrawal of the ad, along with the need to manage the ensuing PR crisis, paying those and those celebrity figures that were involved in the ad, likely resulted in a significant cost with very little gain or positive gain, right? I know they say that no PR is bad PR, but this was not the best. And there was a lot of regrouping, so a lot of apologies and damage control. Pepsi issued a public apology and the ad was pulled, but the damage had already been done. So do you think there was an opportunity here for MarTech to actually potentially save the day? You can pop it in the chat if you think so. Or what do you feel was missing here from this kind of seemingly not very thought out content of their ad? Yeah. Yeah. So the first way that MarTech could have come in and kind of tried to save this kind of situation was audience sentiment analysis before launch. So MarTech tools such as advanced social listening and sentiment analysis tools could have been used to gauge public opinion and sensitivities regarding anything that could be impacted by the content of this ad. So then once that had been done, the hypothetical impact to try and save the day here was that by analyzing sentiment data from things like social media and other digital platforms, Pepsi could have identified the potential for negative reactions to the campaign's theme before it was launched or before it even became a thought, came off the drawing table. And this could have prompted a reevaluation of this ad concept, avoiding that huge public backlash. So I'd say that was a +1 for MarTech there, that it could have come in and saved the day. The next kind of opportunity for marketing technology within this kind of process is A/B testing. I mean, as marketers, it's a great way for us to test if things are actually going to achieve the outcome that we expect them to. So A/B testing platforms could have been used to test different versions of the ad or related messaging with smaller segments of the target audience, or kind of less online than just launching an ad, right? And the hypothetical impact here is that A/B testing would have allowed Pepsi to see how different demographics responded to the ad at a much smaller scale. And if negative reactions were detected in these tests, these smaller, more controllable kind of spaces, the company could have adjusted the campaign accordingly, or chosen even not to proceed with the controversial content. I mean, at the time, Kendall Jenner was pretty cool and was a kind of rising individual and a celebrity within many kind of younger generations. I think just her enjoying Pepsi could have had a great impact. But obviously, I would have needed to test that before I released it. But they chose to move forward with this potentially negative content within their assets and their ad campaigns, seemingly without understanding the sentiment or testing it with their actual communities and the people who are part of the overall kind of Pepsi brand. So that's a second way that MarTech could have come in and given more of an insight into the potential failure that this ad was eventually going to become. And then we have step 3 here, which is predictive analytics for campaign performance. So the MarTech tools here would be predictive analytics platforms could have been employed to kind of forecast the likely performance and public reception for the ad. And the hypothetical impact is that predictive analytics could have provided Pepsi with insights into these potential risks and rewards associated with the campaign. And if the data, the results, the outcome, the reporting out of these kind of tools indicated a high risk of negative reception, would you have carried on pushing this ad? Probably not. And Pepsi could have altered or scrapped the campaign, thus avoiding the subsequent fallout. So yeah, that's another way that it's seemingly so that Pepsi did not temperature check before this kind of ad went viral. And a lot of the ways they could have done that is very easily with some very kind of low-level, basic MarTech kind of solutions to give them an indication of what the future held for this concept. And then the final one is kind of real-time monitoring and rapid response. So MarTech tools like real-time monitoring tools could have tracked the initial reactions to the campaign as soon as it was launched. And the hypothetical impact is that while Pepsi did respond quickly by pulling the ad within the 24 hours, this kind of monitoring and tagging and tracking could have allowed for an even quicker response, perhaps even halting the ad's rollout before it reached such a wide audience. And additionally, MarTech could have supported a more proactive PR strategy to address concerns immediately, potentially mitigating some of the damage that they felt, right? And by leveraging MarTech at various stages of the campaign development and launch process, Pepsi could have hypothetically avoided the Kendall Jenner ad controversy. And that's because MarTech tools could have provided critical insights into audience sentiment, allowed for pre-launch testing, enabled rapid response mechanisms that might have prevented this huge backlash that may not have even been necessary. And this case highlights the importance of integrating advanced marketing technologies into campaign planning to safeguard brand reputation and ensure alignment with audience values. So I would say that that was a pretty big failure. And MarTech actually gives you the opportunity to try and avoid these kind of pitfalls, because it was such a tone-deaf ad, and it was released to huge and kind of developed for younger audiences who were impacted by the current social injustices that were kind of happening at the time. So yeah, that's failure one. So now we're going to look at Gap's 2020 logo redesign failure. So MarTech can kind of support in a lot of different areas of marketing. And this was all about a rebranding and an elevation of Gap at the time. So in October 2010, Gap, a well-known American clothing retailer, unveiled a new logo as part of its rebranding efforts. This one here. Yes, truly, I'm not pulling your leg. This was their rebrand, their new choice for a logo. So the iconic blue box logo, which had been in use for over 20 years, was replaced with a more modern, minimalist design. And the new logo kind of had this bold sans serif font with a blue gradient square placed at the upper right corner of the letter P. And this change was intended to signal a new direction for the brand, but it quickly became a textbook example of how a rebranding effort can go wrong and have an impact on your brand. So the impact that this had was that there was public outcry. The new logo was met with almost universal criticism. And I understand, right? It's so obtuse with no story to flip out these logos and take away this iconic kind of look that it has and bring this in. Social media platforms were flooded with negative comments, and there was even a parody Twitter account mocking the design. There was huge brand loyalty damage. Longtime customers felt alienated by the change, and they weren't afraid to say so, expressing that the new logo lacked the brand's heritage and identity. This caused a huge financial loss. Gap spent a significant amount of money on the redesign and the subsequent reversal. Within a week of the backlash, Gap reverted to its original logo, admitting the change was a mistake. And there was a huge reputational damage. This incident damaged Gap's reputation as a brand that understands and values its customers' opinions. The quick reversal, while necessary, signals huge lack of confidence in the decision-making process. So, not great, right? And again, how could MarTech have hypothetically avoided this issue? What do you know as a marketer? Maybe what would you have done before flipping the logos? What is something that you would have tried to do? Yeah, I agree. So one of the ways that MarTech could have come in and tried to save the day is brand perception analysis or customer sentiment. So we need to know how our customers feel about our branding, about how they interact with us, about the way that they understand us as an organization and the offerings that we provide and our story behind that. We should, if we were Gap, have discovered how customers felt about our existing logo and the brand's heritage before making any such change. And the hypothetical impact by recognizing and understanding that brand perception using MarTech tools and gathering of data and analyzation of that data is that by analyzing maybe historical data and current customer sentiment, Gap could have gained insights into the deep emotional connection customers had with the existing logo. This could have informed a more cautious approach to the redesign, potentially opting for an evolution rather than a complete overhaul. So that's a really positive way to understand if something like a brand new logo and branding and how you kind of showcase yourself to your customers and your communities and your consumers is actually the way to go. Gap has it's an iconic kind of logo for families, for sportswear, for all sorts of things. And at a glance, would you even recognize that this was the Gap you know and love? Probably not. And within 1 week, the U-turn to go from this back to this, that's a monumental backpedal for any organization or brand. And not many brands can probably shoulder that. So hypothetically, by looking at the kind of customer sentiment and the brand perception, using that data that you can now analyze and collect with great pieces of marketing technology, probably would have recognized that potentially a new logo wasn't what was needed. Yeah. Imagine the cost and the meetings and the signing off time for implementing a new logo within such a large organization. All of that wasted. And then the second thing is crowdsourced feedback and focus groups. So this is another way that marketing technology could have supported avoiding this failure, right? So online platforms for crowdsourced feedback and virtual focus groups could have been used to gather opinions on the new logo design before it was officially launched. This kind of ability for us to now be able to collect data, send out forms, get the right people to answer the right questions about big choices is a great enhancement for us as marketers, because it allows us to verify and kind of start from a starting point that has our consumer, customer, clients' thoughts, behaviors, needs, views in mind before we start to make these big, long-lasting kind of changes. And by involving customers in the redesign process through digital focus groups or online surveys, Gap could have identified strong negative reactions early. Because if you go away and have a look at the way that this was perceived online and the outcry that was kind of spoken about, and please do check out the parody Twitter account, it was an overwhelmingly shock to their consumers and clients, right? It was not in their rhetoric of this organization. So it came with big feelings. And this would have allowed the company to refine the design, maybe not go for something so kind of opposite-y, or reconsider even the rebranding strategy before committing to the change. And this kind of signals that Gap had no, either no fear or no interest or a lack of understanding of how their identity and what their identity meant to those that purchased from them. Whereas MarTech and marketing technology and the data that we can collect from that could have given them that great insight into that kind of change. So now we have A/B testing again, but this time with digital audiences. So A/B tools could have been employed to present the new logo to small segments of the online audience to gauge their reaction. It makes sense, right? Instead of rolling it out, praying and hoping for the best, that this is going to have the positive impact you assume it will have based on your parameters, you can actually here record, track, and test the true data and get a true reaction of actually the impact of the changes you're going to make. And that's incredibly powerful for any organization. So A/B testing in this instance would have allowed Gap to compare the reactions to the new logo versus the old one across different customer segments. And of course, if the new logo overwhelmingly received negative feedback, you would reconsider, right? You would reconsider the design, or you would explore different designs, or you would look at alternative options, or you would even test whether a rebranding is actually what the organization needs at this time. Because the whole goal would be for it to be a positive change, a positive next step, a positive growth metric, a purpose along your organization goals. And what we can see here is that that was not aligned with their consumers' expectations, their kind of story, the narrative that they had, which created widespread backlash. Which is not something that we have on our potential bingo card for when we release a campaign or we make a change such as this, or we update things like the UX on our website. That is not the reason that we're doing these things. We do these things as companies to make a positive impact, to make a bigger change, to drive our goals, right? Which is generally more money in the bank for growth. But here, there was a real lack of connection between the organization and the community, which could have been brought closer together by looking at these kind of MarTech processes to gain a better insight and understanding, because that is one of the core wonderful things about marketing technology. It gives us insight, it gives us opportunity, and it gives us a way to move quickly to reap the rewards that we can within organizations. So this is step 3 within this, how MarTech could have tried to avoid all of this negativity. And then the final step here is real-time monitoring of launch reactions. So real-time social media monitoring and analytics tools could have been used to track customers' reactions as soon as that new logo was unveiled. While Gap did eventually reverse the logo change, real-time monitoring could have allowed the company to react even faster, potentially mitigating some of that brand damage that they saw. And MarTech tools could have supported a kind of synchronicity against proactive communication and their communication strategy to address, bless me, address customer concerns and explain the rationale behind the redesign, which might have softened the backlash. But when you look deeper into this, you can see that this wasn't just an uncomfortable thing for the community. It wasn't something that they were gonna get used to. They were fuming and they weren't afraid to say so. And yeah, so Gap's logo redesign failure underscores the importance of deeply understanding customer sentiment and involving them in significant brand changes. By leveraging MarTech tools such as sentiment analysis, crowdsourced feedback, A/B testing, and real-time monitoring, Gap could have avoided the backlash that followed their logo redesign. And this just shows how MarTech can support things like a rebranding effort to make sure that you truly understand what your customers expect, want, and need from you, and that potential issues are identified and addressed before they escalate into major problems. This was huge. This was very upsetting for a lot of people. I'm not one to be truly offended by a organization's logo change, but the older generations that had kind of used Gap for many years for their whole family, that kind of thing, it was deeply unsettling for a lot of their kind of community. So the next one is a really interesting one to me, and this is Quibi's launch failure. And you'll see why it's interesting. And that is because Quibi was a short form mobile video streaming platform. And this was launched in April 2020 by high profile executives Jeffrey and Meg. And the platform aimed to revolutionize how consumed media was experienced by individuals by offering quick bites of content, so 6 to 10 minutes long, kind of, if you think about in that kind of range, designed for viewing on mobile devices. And they raised nearly 1.75 billion in funding and partnered with top Hollywood talent to produce original content. However, despite its high-profile launch and substantial financial backing, Quibi failed to gain traction and shut down just 6 months later. Now, you may be thinking, this is quite similar to a lot of things that are going on at the moment. TikTok's long-form 10-minute videos, YouTube Shorts. So why did it actually fail? Because realistically, it was onto a kind of recipe for success, right? So the impact that this failure of launch had on the business was quite heavy. There were huge financial losses. So investors, such as major Hollywood studios, lost substantial sums of money as the company returned a portion of the unspent funds, but ultimately failed to deliver on its promise. It went into administration. There was a huge brand reputation issue. So the collapse of Quibi tarnished the reputations of its high-profile founders and cast doubt on the viability of mobile-first streaming platforms. And then there was an industry perception change here. So the Quibi's kind of failure served as a cautionary tale for media companies about the challenges of launching new streaming services, particularly in a crowded and competitive market. But TikTok made it. YouTube Shorts have altered the way that we consume, all these kind of things. So how could MarTech have supported them to actually not fail? Because their formula, seemingly, as we look in hindsight, was pretty good. Yeah, they recognized that we love to take things in on a mobile phone in a very quick way because we're dopamine chasing all the time and we want things as quick as possible and to kind of fit things in around our day. It was a great formula. And we can see that other brands that have made it work, right? So MarTech could have supported Quibi with good market research and audience analysis. So what they failed to do is actually be able to connect with their audience. So advanced market research and audience segmentation tools could have been used to gain deeper insights into potential user demographics and their content consumption habits. And by leveraging these tools, Quibi could have better understood the specific needs and preferences of its target audience. This might have revealed that short form content was already widely available on certain places, prompting a reevaluation of Quibi's unique selling proposition and business model before launch. So there's loads of like data that they could have get to optimize their platform to be able to meet the needs of the audiences that were starting to be supported elsewhere by other platforms for very similar things. We then have things like A/B testing of content and platform features. So one of the Quibi's problems was the fact that the feed wasn't incredibly intuitive. So A/B testing could have been employed to test different content types, platform features, and user interfaces with small controlled groups of potential users. And the hypothetical impact here is that by testing various elements of the platform in advance, Quibi could have identified which content formats and features resonated the most with users overall. This would have allowed for adjustments to the platform's offerings, potentially aligning what they had better with the market and how the market was changing to consume short form content. They missed out. They didn't take the time, it seems, to kind of go through and really try to understand what was expected from such a platform. And by A/B testing, they could have seen the differences and the uptake in different features, and then be able to push forward and iterate and grow a platform that was truly reflective of their audience's needs. So that was one way that we can kind of look at that. And then we have predictive analytics for launch timing and market entry. So predictive analytics could have been used to analyze market trends and determine the optimal timing and strategy for launching Quibi. And predictive analytics might have indicated and supported them to recognize that launching in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, when people were confined to their homes and consuming long-form content on larger screens, was not ideal for a mobile-first platform. And they could have adjusted launch timing or pivoted content strategy to better align with the realities of the market. So if they'd have taken the time to kind of see where their kind of product sits within the world and what was kind of going on within those kind of demographics and user groups and markets, they may have recognized that at that time, this was not going to have the best uptake compared to other opportunities that were in the market for shorter form content. And then we have, again, real-time monitoring and rapid iteration post-launch. They didn't really iterate as the feedback came in. And real-time analytics and user feedback tools could have provided immediate insights into user engagement and platform performance after launch. By closely monitoring those user interactions and gathering feedback, Quibi could have quickly identified issues such as lower user retention or dissatisfaction with the content library. This would have allowed for rapid iterations and adjustments to improve the user experience, potentially increasing the platform's chance of success. And this kind of platform's failure to launch successfully highlights the critical importance of understanding your market demand, audience behavior, and competitive positioning when bringing in a new product to market. And by leveraging MarTech tools for an in-depth market research, content testing, predictive analytics, and real-time monitoring, Quibi might have been able to avoid some of these pitfalls that led to its rapid demise. This case underscores the importance of data-driven decision-making and agile marketing strategies in today's highly competitive digital landscape. So as you can see in those three kind of case study, well, failures. I'm not going to call them case studies because we can learn from them, but I don't want you to replicate them, right? And in the fast-paced kind of high-stakes world, even the biggest brands can stumble, as we've seen from Pepsi, Gap, and Quibi. And these cautionary tales remind us that even the most well-funded, star-studded campaigns can fall flat if they miss the mark with consumers as a whole. But you don't have to kind of go in blindly. MarTech is really like your trusty sidekick in these kind of areas, because it is armed with all the gadgets and data you need to outsmart these potential pitfalls and avoid becoming the next case study in my kind of MarTech club, right? Because with the power of MarTech, you can dive deep into customer sentiment, run A/B tests, tweak your strategies in real time, all before a misstep turns into a full-blown fiasco. So whether you're launching a new product, rebranding, staying ahead of the competition, MarTech isn't just a tool, it's almost like a safety net now, because you can all of a sudden have more insight, more understanding, more opportunity than before. And we need to embrace marketing technology and understand the data that we have at our fingertips now, because the data-driven insights are second to none when it comes to making quick decisions and choices for organizations and brands. So that's the end of the MarTech Club kind of today. But I would like to kind of share again that the CIM Specialist Digital Awards that Oxford College of Marketing do offer are glorious. They give you a real lovely, deep insight into these wonderful areas of marketing. I am biased and I think this one's the best, but that's because I do that one. But I would highly recommend talking to Daniela about the Specialist Digital Awards. They are truly glorious. And of course, we have our MarTech Club. It's every 2 weeks live, but we also have a Slack channel that you can join. And it's just where we can kind of talk about these issues that we find within technology and the changes and the terminology, and just a safe space to kind of discuss what is going on within our sector, tech and data wise. And I share a lot of the tools I find, kind of the things that are changing and that kind of stuff in there. So if you've got any questions, please put them in the chat. I'm sure Daniela has something to round us off.
Yes, we'd be more than happy to answer any questions. Feel free to drop us any emails or any questions at the inquiries at oxfordpeg.com. We offer a host of qualifications suited to students who'd be interested in anything to do with marketing. All of them are CIM accredited. We also have, as Robin was saying, the specialist awards, and you all can always study a module as well. So for example, just the MarTech module for the level 4, or you could do an AI module for the level 6 diploma as well. So there's always a way to kind of touch upon your skills and get a little bit of a qualification alongside it.
Perfect. So thank you again for spending your lunchtime with me, and I look forward to seeing you at the next one.